A strange encounter. The night sky on the alien world was not like Earth's sky, it was alive. Green and purple lights moved across the heavens like rivers of fire. Strange moons glowed together, casting long shadows on the rocks. Captain Daniel walked slowly through the ruins, his boots sinking into soft red dust. He had been lost for many days. His ship was broken, and the desert world gave no mercy. Only silence, cold winds, and ruins older than human history. His water was almost gone, his energy pack almost empty. He thought this night might be his last. But then he saw it, a light small and flickering coming from inside the ruined temple ahead. At first, he thought it was only his mind playing tricks. But no, the glow was real. It pulsed like a heartbeat. Daniel moved closer, his breath heavy, his heart louder than the wind. The temple was made of black stone carved with strange symbols. The walls seemed to whisper as he touched them. The designs told stories, wars, kings, and stars. But Daniel could not read them. Still, something inside the temple seemed to call to him like a voice without sound. He stepped inside. The air was warmer here, filled with a strange, sweet smell. It was as if the temple itself was alive, waiting. Then he heard it. Footsteps, soft and quick. His hand went to his weapon, though he knew it had little power left. A shadow moved across the wall. Daniel froze. From the darkness came a small figure, no taller than a child. Her skin glowed faint blue, like light under water. Her eyes were large and silver, shining in the dim light, and then she spoke. Her voice was soft but clear. "Father," she said, looking at Daniel. Daniel's body froze, his mind shocked. He thought he had heard wrong, but the girl stepped closer, her silver eyes never blinking. "Father," she repeated, "you came back for me." Daniel shook his head slowly. "No," he whispered. "I am not your father." But the girl only smiled, a smile both innocent and strange. She held out her hand, small and glowing. Daniel felt his chest tighten. For a moment he wanted to reach for her, but he pulled back, fear and confusion fighting inside him. The ruins trembled, a low hum moving through the walls. Symbols on the stones lit up with golden fire. The ground shook, dust falling from the ceiling. Daniel's voice broke through. "What is this place?" The girl tilted her head, her silver eyes full of mystery. "This is home," she said, "and you are the one who must protect it." Daniel's mind raced. Who was this girl? Why did she call him father? Was this a trick, a trap, or something greater? The walls around him glowed brighter. The girl stepped closer, slipping her small hand into his. Her touch was warm, alive, real. Daniel wanted to pull away, but something inside him whispered to stay. The ruins seemed to know him. The lights followed his steps. The girl looked up at him, her face calm. "You left us long ago," she said, "but I always believed you would return." Her words cut through him, like a memory he did not have. He tried to speak, but his throat was dry. The ground rumbled again, stronger now, the air filled with a low sound, like voices chanting from far away. The girl held his hand tighter, her small fingers glowing brighter. "Do not fear," she said. "They know you. They have been waiting for you." Daniel's heart pounded in his chest. This was not possible. He was only a lost human, broken and stranded. But the girl believed in him with unshaking faith, and the ruins seemed to believe it too. The lights moved across the walls, forming shapes of a man, tall and human, standing beside a glowing child. Daniel stumbled back, his body shaking. The image on the wall was him. It was his face, carved in alien stone. The girl Lucius kept up and whispered, "You are my father." Daniel's breath caught in his throat. He wanted to deny it, to shout it was not true. But deep inside, something told him there was more. Something hidden, waiting to be revealed. The ruins shook one last time, louder than before. Outside, the alien sky flared bright with fire and lightning. The girl looked at the sky with fear, then back at Daniel. "She is coming," the girl whispered, her voice trembling for the first time. Daniel bent down, gripping her shoulders. "Who is coming?" The girl's silver eyes filled with tears. "My mother," she said, "and she must not find us here." The night grew colder, the ruins groaned like a living beast, and Daniel knew in that moment his life had changed forever. The girl clung to him, calling him father again, But the word now carried both hope and terror, for above the temple, hidden in the storm, something vast was moving. The queen was coming, the alien princess. The ruins had fallen silent again. Only the girl's breathing and Daniel's pounding heart filled the air. Outside, the storm of strange colors burned brighter, as if the sky itself was watching them. Daniel looked down at the child holding his hand, her silver eyes glowing with both innocence and power. She called him father, yet he knew nothing about her. Still, her voice carried a weight he could not ignore. The girl led him deeper into the temple. The walls whispered with a strange hum, lights moving across the stone like rivers of fire. Her small steps echoed, but she walked with the calm of someone who belonged. Daniel followed, unable to resist, though fear gnawed at him with every step. Finally, the corridor opened into a vast chamber. What he saw made his breath stop. It was a throne room, hidden beneath the desert sands. The throne was carved from black crystal, tall and sharp. Behind it, a wall of living light moved like water, showing stars, galaxies, and battles long forgotten. The girl walked to the throne and turned back to him, her face calm but her voice filled with pride. "I am Princess Liara, Shatid," he said softly, "daughter of the Eternal Queen." She looked at him as if the words explained everything, but to Daniel they only raised more questions. He wanted to speak, to tell her she was wrong, but the chamber responded before he could. The glowing wall shifted, showing not battles, but a man who looked like Daniel standing beside the same glowing child. Daniel stepped back, his chest tight. "That is not me," he whispered. But Liara shook her head, her silver eyes unblinking. "It is you," she said, "the one who was promised, the one who was lost." The chamber lights grew brighter, symbols on the floor lit up, forming a circle around them. Daniel's skin burned with heat, though no fire touched him. The girl raised her small hands, and the glow wrapped around both of them like a shield. Daniel wanted to pull away, but her voice kept him frozen. "You were gone for many seasons," she said, "but now you are here, and you must protect me." Daniel felt his throat dry, his mind a storm. He was only a broken man, a lost human. How could this child believe he was a father, a protector, a savior? But the ruins seemed to agree with her. The wall shifted again, showing ships, fleets of alien vessels bowing before a single figure, a figure that looked like him. Liara stepped down from the throne and walked closer. Her eyes were too wise for her young face. "You left us once," she said, and Mother's heart grew cold. Daniel froze at her words. The Eternal Queen, the ruler of this world, the one who was coming, was her mother. And if she was cold, if she was powerful, then Daniel knew he was walking into danger he could not survive. Before he could answer, the ground shook again. The chamber roared like thunder. From the shadows, shapes began to move. Soldiers, armored in black and silver, their faces hidden behind glowing masks. They stepped forward slowly, their wieses, pawns humming with deadly energy. Daniel raised his broken gun, though he knew it would not save him. The soldiers stopped, their heads tilting as if waiting for a command. Then the impossible happened. Liara stepped in front of him, her tiny body standing against an army. She raised her hand, and the soldiers froze, their weapons lowering. Her voice rang through the chamber like a command carved into stone. "He is mine," she said. "He is my father, and you will not touch him." The soldiers bowed, their heads low, as if her words were law. Daniel's breath caught. A child no older than 10 human years had just commanded warriors who could have destroyed him in an instant. She turned back to him, her eyes glowing brighter than before. "You see," she said, "even they know who you are." Daniel shook his head. "No, child, they obey you, not me." But Liara's smile was sharp, almost knowing. "They obey both of us," she said, "for we are bound." The chamber lights flickered, and Daniel realized what bound meant. The ruins, the soldiers, the glowing visions, they all believed he was connected to her, whether by destiny, by mistake, or by some old forgotten truth, and now he was trapped in that belief. Liara reached for his hand again, pulling him gently. "Come," she whispered. "Mother will soon arrive, and she cannot see you weak." Her words were soft, but behind them was fear. Daniel felt it, though she tried to hide it. She was powerful, yes, but she was still a child. And whoever this queen was, she terrified even her daughter. They walked through a golden door that opened by itself. Beyond was a city hidden underground, glowing towers rising like crystal trees. Aliens of many forms moved across bridges of light, their eyes turning as Daniel and Liara stepped out. A wave of silence spread, then whispers. "Father returned," they murmured, voices low but filled with awe and fear. Daniel felt their stares burn into him. Every alien in that city believed the lie, or the prophecy, that he was the princess's father. Liara squeezed his hand. Her small voice barely a whisper. "Do not let go of me," she said. "If you do, they will know you doubt, and doubt is death here." Daniel forced his hand to stay. The city glowed around him, beautiful but deadly, and high above the towers, a sound like thunder rolled through the sky. The queen's arrival had begun. The bond, the hidden city glowed like a dream under the earth. Crystal towers pulsed with blue fire. Bridges of light stretched above endless depths. Strange creatures moved across them, some tall with wings, others scaled and glowing, yet all stopped to watch Daniel and Liara. They whispered with voices that carried like wind. "The Father has returned." Daniel felt their eyes pierce into him. He wanted to deny it, to shout the truth, that he was only a lost human, not the savior they believed. But Liara's small hand gripped his tightly. Her silver eyes warned him without words. "Stay silent, stay strong, because in this city, doubt was dangerous." They walked through the crowd and the people bowed, not to Daniel but to Liara, their princess, yet still their gazes lingered on him with fear, awe, and something darker, expectation. Daniel knew then that if he disappointed them, they might turn against him. Liara led him to a great hall carved into the side of a glowing mountain. Inside, fires burned without smoke, and the walls shimmered like living stone. There, she finally let go of his hand, her small shoulders relaxing. "This place is safe," she said softly. "No one here will harm us." Daniel looked around. Warriors in silver armor stood at the edges of the hall, their eyes cold, but none moved, none spoke. They waited like statues. Liara walked to a pool of water at the center of the chamber. The water glowed faintly, stars dancing on its surface. She knelt and touched the pool, and images appeared, worlds, battles, and faces long gone. Daniel saw armies of aliens kneeling before a man who looked like him. He turned away, his chest tightening. "It isn't me," he whispered. But Liara looked at him calmly. "It does not matter if you believe. The city believes." Her words chilled him. Faith, once born, was harder to kill than any army. And here, faith bound him to her, whether he liked it or not. Liara sat by the glowing pool and motioned for him to sit too. When he did, she spoke in a voice too old for her years. "My mother rules with power, but her power is fear," she said. "She wants me to be like her, cold and without weakness, but I cannot." She looked at him, her voice trembling slightly. "That is why I need you, Father." Daniel's throat tightened. He wanted to correct her again, to tell her the truth. But when he looked into her silver eyes, he saw more than belief. He saw loneliness, a child raised in shadows, waiting for someone to protect her. And though his mind screamed denial, his heart whispered something else. Without knowing why, he reached out and touched her shoulder. The moment his hand rested there, the pool of water glowed brighter. Images rose again, not battles this time, but him standing beside her, shielding her from darkness. Daniel pulled his hand back in shock, but Liara smiled faintly. "You see," she said, "the bond is real." The soldiers at the edges shifted, their heads lowering slightly, as if the pool itself had confirmed his role. Daniel felt the weight pressing down on him heavier than before. He was trapped in a story written long before he was born, and the people would not allow him to escape it. Liara leaned closer, her voice a whisper only for him. "Mother will test you, she will try to break you, but you must not let her." Her hands trembled as she spoke. "If she takes me, I will be lost. But if you stay, I can fight." Daniel looked at her, a child carrying the fate of a world. He had no reason to stay, no duty to fight, yet something inside him hardened. Maybe it was guilt, maybe destiny, or maybe the truth he had tried to deny. But for the first time, he thought, perhaps he was meant to protect her. The chamber doors shook, the soldiers stiffened. Outside, horns echoed like thunder, a deep and endless sound. Liara's face paled. "She comes," she whispered. The eternal queen, her mother, was drawing near. Daniel rose, his broken weapon still at his side. He knew it was useless against an empire, but Liara looked at him with trust, with hope, and he could not walk away. He stood tall, though fear burned in his chest. Whatever this bond was, it was now unbreakable. The great doors of the hall began to open. Light spilled through, blinding and cold. The soldiers knelt in perfect silence. Liara gripped Daniel's hand one last time and whispered, "Do not show fear, not even for a breath." Daniel's heart thundered as shadows filled the hall, and the queen stepped forward. Her presence was like fire and ice together, a storm wearing the shape of a woman, tall, armored, crowned with light, her gaze sharp enough to cut stone. The hall bowed, but she did not look at them. Her eyes went only to Daniel, and in them burned recognition, rage, and something far older than hate. The queen's shadow. The great doors of the hall groaned open. Light spilled across the chamber like a blade, sharp and cold. The eternal queen stepped through, her presence crushing the air. She was taller than any human, her armor black as night, lined with burning silver. A crown of living crystal floated above her head, humming with power, and her eyes, golden fire that seemed to pierce through stone, locked on Daniel. The soldiers fell to their knees, their heads low. The hall bowed in silence, the sound of fear filling the air without words. Only Daniel remained standing, though his body trembled. Liara clung to his hand, her small fingers shaking. "Do not bow," she whispered, her voice desperate but steady. "If you bow, she will own you." The queen's steps echoed like thunder, each one shaking the floor. Her gaze never left Daniel. When she reached the center of the hall, she stopped. For a long moment, silence ruled. Then her voice rang out, deep and sharp. "So," she said, "the ghost dares to return." Daniel's throat tightened. He wanted to speak, to deny her words, but the weight of her gaze froze him. Liara stepped forward, her small voice rising. "Mother, he is mine. He is my father." The queen's head turned slowly toward her daughter. Her golden eyes softened for only a heartbeat, then her gaze sharpened like a blade. "You call him father," she said, her voice low, dangerous. "You shame me with your weakness." The hall grew colder. Daniel pulled Liara closer, standing in front of her. The queen's lips curled into a sharp smile. "You protect her?" she asked. "You dare claim what is not yours?" Daniel forced his voice out, though it cracked. "I claim nothing," he said. "I am only a man." But the queen's laughter shook the walls. "Only a man?" she echoed. "You speak lies even now, for your face is carved into the stones of our past. Your shadow walks through. Makes our blood." The glowing pool behind the throne flared to life. Images appeared again. War, fire, and a man who looked like Daniel leading armies against the stars. The queen pointed to the vision, her voice like steel. "That man burned our enemies. That man stole my heart. And that man betrayed us." Daniel froze. Betrayal. The word hung heavy in the chamber. He looked at the image, the same face, his face, but older, harder. Could it be possible? Was he tied to this world by something more than chance? Liara's voice cut through the storm. "No," she cried. "He is not a betrayer. He is my father." Tears burned in her silver eyes. The queen's gaze softened again just for her daughter, but then it turned back to Daniel, blazing with fury. "You poisoned her mind," she said, "and for that, you must suffer." The soldiers rose, their weapons humming. Daniel raised his broken gun, though he knew it was useless. The queen raised her hand, and the entire hall shook with power. The lights bent, the walls trembled, the air burned. Daniel felt the weight of her will pressing down, crushing his chest. He staggered, knees nearly buckling, but then Liara screamed. Her small body glowed with sudden light, silver brighter than fire. She stood between Daniel and the queen, her voice ringing through the hall. "He is mine," she shouted. "If you harm him, you harm me." The queen's hand froze in the air. Her soldiers stopped confused. Golden fire clashed with silver glow, mother against daughter. The chamber itself shook with the force of their bond. The queen lowered her hand slowly, her gaze narrowing. "So," she whispered, "the bond is real." Her voice turned cold, sharp as ice. "You have tied yourself to him, child, and now he cannot escape." Daniel gasped. The bond. The same force he felt at the pool, the same visions. It was not only faith, it was real. A link of power binding. Him to Liara, and now the queen knew it. The queen's eyes burned into him. "You think this makes you strong," she said, "but it makes you weak, for she will suffer for your mistakes, and you will bleed for hers." Her smile was cruel, her voice like thunder. "You are not her father, but I will let her believe, for belief is a chain stronger than steel." Liara clung to Daniel's arm, tears running down her glowing face. "Don't listen," she whispered. "She lies. She wants to break you." But Daniel could not breathe, could not speak, because deep inside he felt the truth. Every word the queen spoke carried poison, but also weight. The queen turned, her black crystal crown blazing. "Take him to the chamber of trials," she commanded. "Let him prove if he is worthy to stand beside my daughter, or let him die like the pretender he is." The soldiers moved forward, their weapons raised. Liara screamed, trying to hold him, but the queen's golden fire burned between them, pulling them apart. Daniel was dragged toward the dark gates at the far end of the hall. The last thing he saw was Liara's face, her silver eyes filled with terror and trust. "Father, don't let them break you," she cried. Her voice echoed even as the gates closed, and Daniel knew the shadow of the queen had only begun to fall, discovery and confrontation. The chamber of trials was no simple prison, it was alive. Daniel was thrown inside by armored soldiers, the heavy gates sealing shut behind him. The floor glowed with red veins of energy, pulsing like a beating heart. Walls of black crystal rose around him, shifting and bending like they were watching. Every breath carried the weight of judgment. Above him, a balcony opened in the stone. The eternal queen appeared, her golden eyes shining like fire. Her voice rolled through the chamber, sharp and merciless. "You claim to be father to my child," she said. "Then prove it, or die here." Daniel gripped and his broken weapon, his chest rising with heavy breaths. "I never claimed it," he shouted, though his voice echoed weakly. The queen's lips curved into a cruel smile. "You didn't need to. The bond speaks louder than words." The walls shifted again, and shadows began to move. Shapes rose from the crystal. Beasts, half flesh and half light, their bodies burning with fire. They circled him, their eyes glowing with hunger. Daniel raised his gun, but it sparked once and died, useless in his hand. The queen's laughter echoed. "A father protects, even without weapons." The beast leapt, claws flashing. Daniel rolled aside, his breath ragged. He grabbed a shard of crystal from the ground, jagged and sharp. When the next beast charged, he drove it into its chest. The creature screamed, bursting into fire, but two more took its place. From the balcony, the queen's voice cut through. "You bleed for her, but will you die for her?" Her words rang heavy. Daniel's arms ached, his lungs burned, but the image of Liara's silver eyes flashed in his mind, her small voice calling him father, her trust unshaken. That thought gave him strength. He fought like a cornered wolf, every strike wild, desperate, but full of fire. One by one the beasts fell, exploding into ash. But when the last one died, the floor opened. Daniel stumbled as he was pulled down into darkness. He landed hard in another chamber, smaller, colder. Here there were no beasts, only silence, until a soft voice whispered from the shadows. "You should not have come back." Daniel spun, his heart pounding. A figure stepped forward, tall, cloaked in silver light. It was not the queen and not a beast. It was himself, his own face, older, harder, eyes dark with rage. The double spoke with venom. "You left them once, and you will leave again." Daniel shook his head, his voice breaking. "I don't even know who you are." The ill shadow smiled, cruel and knowing. "I am the truth she hides, the man who betrayed the queen." Daniel's chest tightened. The queen's words, the visions in the pool, the ruins, they all pointed to this. Somewhere in the past, a man with his face had lived, fought, and betrayed. But was it him, or some ancestor bound to him by blood? The shadow leaned closer, whispering, "You will betray the child too. It is in your blood." Daniel roared and struck, driving the crystal shard into the shadow's chest. Light burst, and the double vanished. But the words remained in his mind, echoing like poison. When he looked up, the queen stood again above him, her laughter filling the chamber. "You see," she said, The walls reveal truth, not lies. Her eyes burned into him. You are the betrayer reborn, wearing the same face, walking the same path. Daniel fell to his knees, the weight crushing him. The queen's words clawed at his heart. Could it be true? Would he betray Liara too? His mind screamed denial, but doubt gnawed at him like fire. Then a sound broke through the darkness, a small, desperate voice. Father. Daniel lifted his head. Liara stood beyond the crystal bars, her hands glowing as she pressed them to the wall. Tears streamed down her silver cheeks. Do not listen to her, she cried. You are not him. You are mine. The queen turned her gaze to her daughter, cold and sharp. Child, she said, you cling to weakness. You cling to lies. This man is no father. He is a curse. Liara's voice rose, louder, braver. No, she shouted. A father is not in blood. A father is in heart, and he is mine. The chamber shook, silver light exploding from her hands. The crystal bars cracked, the queen's golden fire clashing with Liara's silver glow. Mother against daughter, power against innocence. Daniel stood between them, the bond burning in his chest. For the first time he felt it fully, real, alive, unbreakable. The queen's voice thundered, then let the bond kill you. Both. Her golden fire struck down. Liara's silver light rose to meet it. Daniel threw himself forward, caught between their powers. Pain seared through him, fire and light tearing at his body, but he did not let go. When the light finally faded, the chamber lay in ruins. Daniel knelt on the ground, barely breathing. Liara clung to him, her small body shaking, and the queen stood above them, her face unreadable. For the first time, she did not speak with rage. Her golden eyes burned with something else, recognition and fear, the hidden truth. The chamber was broken, its walls cracked and glowing, smoke curled from shattered crystal, the floor burned with golden and silver veins. Daniel knelt on the ground, his body trembling from the clash of powers. Liara clung to him, her small arms tight, her silver eyes wet with tears, and high above them, the eternal queen stood silent, her golden gaze unreadable. For the first time since he had seen her, she did not speak with rage. She studied him like a puzzle she could not solve. At last her voice came, low and heavy. You should not exist, she whispered. And yet here you are. Daniel forced himself to stand, though his knees shook. I am only a man, he said. A man who never asked for this. The queen's lips curved into a bitter smile. You think you are only a man, but you are more than that. You are a wound in time, a shadow from our past. She raised her hand and the broken walls lit with golden fire. Images formed across the cracks, armies, battles, and faces. Daniel's chest tightened because once again he saw himself, or someone with his face, standing in command of fleets of human ships. Beside him was the queen, younger without a crown, her eyes full of fire but not yet hate. Liara gasped, her hand clutching Daniel's arm. That is him, she whispered. The one from the stones. The queen's voice sharpened. Yes, the one who once walked among us, the one who I trusted, the one who betrayed. The vision shifted. Daniel saw the human figure and the queen standing side by side, their hands together, their armies united, but then fire consumed the stars, ships burned, planets broke, and the queen's golden fire turned against the human. The vision ended with him vanishing into the void, leaving her alone. Daniel's throat was dry. It wasn't me, he said, his voice raw. The queen's eyes narrowed. No, not you, but your blood, your line, your face is his. She stepped closer, her armor burning with light. Humanity once fought beside us, then turned against us. Your kind took what was ours, broke what we built, and left scars that never healed. Liara shook her head, tears burning her cheeks. No, he is not the same. He is different. He is good. The queen's gaze flicked to her daughter, softening for a heartbeat. Then she looked back at Daniel, her voice cold. Perhaps, but the bond makes you dangerous. If you fall, she falls with you. And if she falls, so does the empire. Daniel's heart pounded. So that was it. The bond was not only emotional, it was real, a tether of power. The queen feared it, not because it was weak, but because it was strong. She turned and raised her hand again, showing another vision, this time not of the past, but of the future. Daniel saw Liara grown older, her silver glow eyes out brighter than the stars. Beside her stood a man, again with his face. Together they led armies not of aliens, not of humans, but of both, united. The queen's voice cut through the vision. "This is the danger," she said. "A future where the child and the human blood walk together. A future where my throne is broken." The vision ended, the chamber dim once more. The queen's golden eyes blazed with both rage and fear. "I will not allow it," she said, her voice like thunder. "I will not let prophecy chain me, nor let my daughter's weakness destroy us all." Liara cried out, stepping forward. "It is not weakness to love," she shouted. "It is strength." Her silver light flared, clashing with the queen's golden fire again. The chamber shook, crystal raining from the ceiling. Daniel stepped between them, his voice rising louder than he thought possible. "Enough," he roared. "If you fear the past, then test me. If you fear the future, then watch me. But I will not leave her." For a moment, silence held. The queen stared at him, her golden eyes burning like twin suns. Then her lips curved into a slow, cruel smile. "So be it," she said. "If you will not leave, then you will walk the path of truth." She raised her hand and the floor cracked open, revealing a spiral stair of black crystal leading down into endless dark. "The heart of the world," she said, her voice sharp. "Where the first blood of our kind was spilled, where the bond was born, there you will face the truth of who you are, and if you survive, perhaps you will keep her faith." Liara cried out, clutching Daniel's hand. "No, it is a trap. She wants to kill you." Daniel looked at her, her small silver eyes glowing with fear. He bent down, resting his hand on her shoulder. "Maybe," he whispered, "but if the truth is there, I need to see it." The queen's laughter echoed across the chamber. "Yes," she said. "Go, wow. Walk into the dark and see if you are truly her father or only her curse." The stair glowed with golden light, pulling Daniel downward. Liara clung to him until the last moment, whispering again and again, "You are my father. You are mine. Do not forget." The gates closed behind him. The queen stood above, her face cold as stone, and Daniel descended into the dark, toward the heart of the world, toward the hidden truth, and toward a destiny he could no longer escape. The final choice. The stair of black crystal seemed endless. Daniel's steps echoed into the dark, each one heavier than the last. The air grew colder, filled with whispers he could not understand, but he felt them crawling into his mind, pressing against his thoughts. It was as if the world itself was alive, waiting for him to fall. At last, he stepped into a vast cavern, the heart of the world. It was no chamber of stone. It was alive. The walls pulsed with light like veins. The floor glowed with rivers of molten crystal. And at the center stood an ancient altar, cracked and burning with golden and silver fire. Daniel approached slowly, his body shaking with both fear and awe. On the altar lay a sword unlike any he had seen. It was half gold, half silver, forged of two lights bound together. The whispers grew louder, forming words at last. "Choose," they said. "Choose and become." He reached for the blade, but before his hand touched it, shadows rose from the molten ground. Figures formed from smoke and fire. His face, again and again, each one holding the sword, each one walking different paths. One bathed in gold, leading alien armies. One bathed in silver, defending Liara with love. And one bathed in black fire, betraying both, leaving ruin. Daniel staggered back. "Which am I?" he whispered, his voice breaking. The shadows all turned to him, their voices a chorus. "You are all, you are none. The choice is yours." Pain seared through his chest, the bond with Liara burning like fire. He saw flashes of her silver eyes, her small hand holding his, her voice calling him father. He saw the queen's face too, rage, fear, and something hidden beneath, a wound from long ago still bleeding. The whispers pressed harder. "Take the sword. Claim your fate." Daniel reached forward, his hand trembling. The moment his fingers touched the blade, the cavern roared to life. Light exploded, visions flooding his mind. He saw the truth, raw and merciless. Long ago, the queen and the man with his face had loved one another. They had forged the bond together, human and alien, gold and silver. But he had betrayed her, not with lies, but with choice. When the war came, he chose humanity over her people, and that choice had shattered the empire. The queen had never forgiven, her heart turning to fire, and her daughter had inherited the bond, unbroken through blood and time. Daniel fell to his knees, tears burning his eyes. It was not his sin, but it was his shadow, and now the world demanded he choose differently. The cavern shook and the queen appeared in golden fire, her eyes blazing. She had followed him, her voice sharp and merciless. "Now you see the truth," she said. "You are born of betrayal and you will betray again. Put down the sword, and I may let you die quickly." But another voice cut through the fire. "Father." Liara appeared in silver light, tears streaming down her face. She ran to him, clutching his arm. "Don't listen to her. You are not the past. You are mine." Her small voice was stronger than the queen's fire. Her silver glow pushed back the golden blaze. Daniel rose, the sword in his hand. "I will not be him," he said, his voice shaking but firm. "I will not betray her. I will not betray this child." The queen's laughter shook the cavern. "Then fight me," she roared, her golden fire flaring. The cavern became a storm of light gold and silver clashing. The queen's power burned like a sun, but Daniel stood his ground, the bond with Liara flooding him with strength. The shadows of the past tried to pull him down, whispering betrayal, whispering weakness, but Liara's voice rose above them all. "You are my father, in heart, if not in blood. You are mine." With a roar, Daniel drove the sword into the ground. Light exploded, gold and silver fusing together. The cavern screamed, the molten rivers rising into the air. The queen was thrown back, her golden fire breaking against the silver glow. And when the light faded, Daniel stood holding the blade, the bond blazing in his chest. The queen rose slowly, her armor cracked, her crown dim, her eyes burned with rage, but also with fear. "You should not exist," she whispered again, her voice trembling. Daniel stepped forward, the blade steady. "Yet I do," he said. "And I will not leave her. If you want me gone, you will have to kill me, but if you do, you will lose her forever." The queen's face twisted, torn between fury and truth. Her gaze flicked to Liara, who stood glowing with silver fire, the child she called weak, now unbreakable. At last the queen lowered her hand, her voice cold. "Very well, you may live. But hear me, human. If you betray her, if you betray us, I will burn your world to ash." Daniel nodded slowly, his grip on the blade tight. "Then I will never betray her," he said. The queen turned, her golden fire fading. Liara ran into Daniel's arms, her small voice whispering again and again, "You are my father, you are mine." The cavern stilled, the molten rivers dimming. Daniel stood with the child in his arms and the blade of light in his hand. He knew the fight was not over. The queen had spared him, but her shadow still hung heavy, and beyond the stars, whispers of war stirred once more. For this was not the end, it was only the beginning.